Siddharth, go ahead.
Great. Thanks, Aditya. Thanks so much for that very helpful summary of the KFS, and thanks to everyone who's joined. Let me just quickly share my screen and we can dive right into Legality's product and see how we can set up a really quick workflow on how to comply with the KFS guidelines. Is my screen visible, Aditya?
Yeah, Sid, it's visible.
Perfect. What you see here before you is Legality's dashboard. This is our control station. For those of you who've not seen a Legality demo before, this is the main portal that all of our users get access to. This allows you to track all your documents that you've sent via Legality. You can see your workflows, you can see your templates, and this gives you a full picture on your usage of Legality, right? Now, very quickly, let's introduce you to the concept of workflows. A workflow is a set of configurations revolving around your document, your stamp papers, and your sign configurations that allows you to create a really streamlined flow for repeatedly executing a particular kind of document. So, for example, for a KFS workflow, what you can do is select your key fact statement template, which, as Aditya mentioned in the previous segment, it needs to be in a specific format now. So, you can create a workflow with that specific template. You can specify what kind of signature you want to apply to the document. If you want to stamp a particular document, you can also select which kind of stamp paper you want to select. You can bundle all of that up as a one time process and then repeatedly use that workflow whenever you want to sign documentation with a particular customer, right? So here we'll see a particular example of a key fact statement. We've created a workflow for the purposes of the demo, and we'll see how what kind of configurations we've set here and how to run it. The best thing about Legality is that we give you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to do this. So you can, for example, create a workflow and then execute that workflow using an API integration as well, right? You can do this in an automated way. You can also do this via the dashboard, which is what we are going to see here today, right? So, with that said, let's really quickly dive into a sample key fact statement workflow that we've created for the purpose of the demo. So here, the first thing that you'll notice is that when I try to run the key fact statement workflow, whatever pre-configurations were made for this workflow are already pre-selected. So for instance, I see this document here right on top called key fact statement. This is a template which your compliance team or legal team has created in accordance with the RBI guidelines. This is pre-selected here. If there is any requirement of stamping, then that can also be configured in the workflow. For the purpose of the demo, we have configured a revenue stamp here, so you can see that it's already pre-selected. So at the time when you're interacting with a customer, you don't really need to get into all of this. You're just running with the preset workflow that your legal team has created on all those aspects, right? Now, what you need to do is enter the variable data or the dynamic data that is specific to each customer. So let's say this is customer 3. We give it this document name. You can give the document an internal reference number. Calling back to one of the key requirements that Aditya had flagged, you need to pass a unique reference number for each key fact statement. So you can key that in here. If you are doing an API integration, I just want to re-emphasize that you don't need to manually pass this data. All of this can be directly passed via an API as well, right? So now once we've configured the unique reference number and the document name, we are ready to go to the next step. Now here you need to populate the key fact statement that has been prepared by your compliance and legal teams as a template on Legality. We have a really easy to use template engine that allows you to create templates as per your legal and compliance requirements. Here we have a KFS template that is specified by the RBI guidelines. So we have the actual key fact statement here.
Siddhant, just 1 second. I think we have a quick question on your
Yeah.
previous slide. I think so. It mentioned revenue stamp was toggled. So just to clarify, yes, you can use revenue stamps or stamp paper with Legality. Stamp paper across 31 states and union territories, and revenue stamp, of course, across all states and union territories. Possible to do digitally. Yeah.
Terrific. Thanks, Patel. Okay, so moving on, here we have the entire KFS created as a template. This is possible to do really quickly via our easy to use template engine. And we also have a dedicated team that can help you create templates on request. But here at this stage, when you're running the workflow, all you need to do is fill the variable data types in the template, right? So for instance, let's select a term loan here. Let's select the account number, key in the sanction amount, the loan term, let's say it's 12 months, and the annual interest rate, which let's say is 12%, right? Now, again, just re-emphasizing, all of this data can be passed via APIs as well. Every single data field that I'm going to enter here can be passed via APIs, right? Now, once we've configured all of these data points, we are ready to go to the next step. And here we see all the signing configurations that your workflow has. So for instance, here we are going to see two different kinds of journeys with two different kinds of eSign types. First, we are going to see a journey with quick sign enabled. So here in this workflow, we have the first signer where quick sign is enabled. Quick sign is our version of a really quick click wrap kind of signature, but it has none of the weaknesses of a click wrap. It is fully auditable, it is tamper proof, and yet it is as fast as a click wrap. And what we call it is a quick sign. So for the first invitee here, or the first signer here, we have configured a quick sign. For the second signer here, we have configured an Aadhaar eSign. So this will allow you to see two very different kinds of journeys, and it will help you get a flavor of the flexibility of the platform, and it will help you decide what kind of flow that you want to build for your own signers. So these are the two kinds of signatures that are configured. Again, all of this is done on a one-time basis in the workflow itself. For you, when you're running a workflow for a particular customer, all you need to do is key in the variable data, right? So let's quickly do that. We'll enter the name of the borrower, key in their mobile number. So we have our quick sign signer configured. Let's really quickly configure our Aadhaar eSign signer as well. Okay. Now with the Aadhaar eSign, we also wanted to give you a flavor of some additional options that you can leverage with Leegality. One key security feature that we've introduced is the capability to perform a face match. So what this allows you to do is pass any official ID of the customer or a photograph of the customer that you have from your KYC process. And once you pass this to us, we will ask the customer or the signer to perform a face capture, and we will match the face against the face in your system, right? This ensures that the signer is actually present and they are doing the journey themselves. This is a very useful feature if you have a lot of organizational focus on auditability and security. So we just wanted to quickly show you that feature as well. So we've enabled that in the Aadhaar eSign flow. And lastly, we've also configured an automated signature here. This is a signature that will be applied automatically. This is typically used for your banks or financial institution side of signature. So nobody needs to repeatedly do a signature over and over again. You can just pre-configure it and it will be automatically applied once the borrowers have completed the flow at their end, right? So once we've done all of this, we are ready to move to the next step. You can preview the document and then quickly send it out. Right, so that's it. All we had to do was pass the data specific to the customer, and we've created a document that's ready for signing now. So let's see how the journey will look like for your borrower who's going to acknowledge and receive the key fact statement here, right? I'm going to quickly toggle to my WhatsApp screen. If you see this, we had actually enabled a WhatsApp notification mode for your signers. So you can see that there is a notification that has been sent on WhatsApp asking the borrower here to e-sign the document. The message also specifies and carries an expiry date. Calling back to the requirement that Aditya had flagged, you need to give a specific time to the borrower to sign, to agree and read and process the KFS. So using Leegality, you can customize this, and the customer also gets to know exactly how much time they have to review and sign the document, right? So another little feature that helps you comply with the KFS guidelines. Let's quickly hit eSign and perform authentication. So this is the signing journey. The look and feel of the journey is customizable as per your brand colors and your brand logo. So there's a logo here that this can be customized as per your requirements. The colors can be as per your brand colors. You can change the language on the user interface, a very important feature of our platform that helps you comply with the requirements of the RBI guidelines, which say that you need to give a local language interface to the user. So this toggle allows you to control all and the entire user interface of the journey in the language that you want. So customers can select whatever language that they're comfortable with. For instance, here the language of the button here on the bottom right has changed. So this allows the signers a great degree of control. You can also change the language of the template itself on Leegality. The template here, we have an English language template, but this template can also be created in local languages, whether it's Hindi, whether it's Malayalam, Tamil, or any other language that you want to use. And you can just create those separate templates in those individual languages and create workflows for each of those templates. Let's quickly see how the journey is in Hindi. So we can click on proceed and quickly click on sign the document. Right, so that's it. It's a super fast journey. The mandatory number of clicks here are just 3. There is no additional OTP authentication layer. There is no friction for the user at all. It's as quick and as seamless as a click wrap that you may be currently using, but this comes with the added benefits of auditability and having a tamper proof document that is acknowledged and digitally and signed by the customer. So that's really as fast as it gets in terms of having a quick sign done. Let's toggle back and see what the status of the document is on our control panel on the details page. So here you can see that the first signer has signed the document. You can track this data from this page on a real-time basis, and you will also get updates via APIs if you have an integrated flow. Now, once that sign is done, the next signer automatically gets activated. So we can quickly see how that journey will also look like, right? So the next type of journey that we are going to see is the Aadhaar
So,
eSign.
Dant,
Yeah,
I think there was one question received a minute back. I think on the
yeah,
parameters, I think we'll answer it here because we're in the document journey.
sure.
Is about would the parameters, the dynamic fields get translated into languages other than English along with the template? So I
Right.
think, yeah. So
No. So the answer to that, so that's a very good question. The answer to that is no at the moment. The dynamic fields will continue to remain in English. It's the other text, the static text that gets converted into local languages, but not the dynamic values that are going into the agreement. This was also a conscious call that we had taken because when it comes to understanding the variable data, which is typically in the form of numbers, right, in terms of whether what's the interest rate, what is the loan amount, our research and study suggested that people are actually, whilst they may want to read otherwise in the local language, they want to see the numbers in English only. That's what they are familiar with. So it may actually be counterproductive if we start showing all the variable numbers in local languages as well. That it's for the customers in terms of understandability and readability. Those values are preferred to be in English language itself. So to answer the question, the static content can be modified into local languages, but the dynamic content, the dynamic data will remain in English.
ultimately, also for dynamic data, to be honest, depends on what you push to us. So, right, Sid, if I'm not wrong, like
Yeah, you can push it in a number of languages, Patel, but the support at our end is for
got it.
English language. Yeah,
Understood. Another question actually similar to this is we showed how the interface changes, we showed how the custom consent changes, but the language of
yeah,
the KFS itself did not change when you change the language. So I think we'll cover this in the next signing flow. So just answer that question also when you're showing the language and why that is the case.
sure, absolutely. Cool. So now that our quick sign journey is over, we can take a look at the Aadhaar eSign journey. This is another way of getting your acknowledgement on your key fact statement, which is more secure and goes through more layers of authentication. So you may want to consider this also depending on your requirements.
Siddharth, one more question. Sorry, because questions are coming in fast on the face
Yeah,
match that you showed. If the
yeah,
signer has a KYC with their old photo, so if you guys recall, Siddharth showed that there was a face match possible. I think you're showing face match with this. Are you
yeah,
showing
I
face?
am.
Okay, just
I'm
answer that question. What happens in the case of an old photo when you show face match?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me answer that in the course of the demo. Actually, I'll
Sure.
I'll cover that specific point. So here, this is a let's get into the Aadhaar eSign really quickly. This is a slightly different way of configuring the journey where the customer gets to choose the language upfront instead of being shown the language in a particular language that you have selected upfront, like English. So here, I first get to select the language of my choice, and then the document and then the user interface gets rendered in that specific language. The document, as the question from the audience suggested, the document will remain in English. As I had pointed out previously during the quick sign demo, if you want the template to also change, then what you should do is you should create specific workflows for each language, right? So this is a scalable model that we've seen working for lakhs of transactions on a daily basis for customers who've already implemented local language flows. So you create, let's say, 10 workflows with 10 different templates, and each template is in the relevant local language where you freeze the language upfront, right? So depending on the geography that you're operating in, you can then pass the Marathi language workflow, or you can trigger the Kannada language workflow or the Hindi language workflow depending on your requirements, right? So that is one way to achieve the ability to show this document itself in a local language to customers. The other way in which you can configure this is that you have a single document with multiple languages, right? So what you can do is, here we have an English language KFS. You can actually stack multiple languages here one after the other. So you can have an English template followed by a Hindi template, followed by a Marathi template, followed by a Kannada template, all of which is a part of a single template. So the customer can actually see the template in whichever language that they choose. So that option also exists for you. So you can configure this in a way that you want. But of course, the way that we've seen this implemented more often is to have separate workflows for each language, wherein you can even pre-configure the language in which you want the journey to be rendered, right? I hope that answers the question on how to control the language of the template itself. Now hitting on proceed and going ahead. So the next step here is a payment collect process. This is another interesting feature which we wanted to highlight to you. If you are stamping documents or collecting other fees from customers which you want to collect from the end signers as well, then you can directly collect money from the customers in our signing journey itself. We have payment gateways integrated in our journey, and this is how it works. The customer gets a payment prompt. They get to see what the amount payable is and what the payment is for. So here, payment towards stamp duty procured as per legal requirements, and the customer needs to click on pay online, and a payment gateway opens up and you can pay using any of the options that are available to you, right? So this would be something that you would have seen in many e-commerce or quick commerce applications, some like a payment gateway integration like this, but we offer this inside our signing journey as well. So let's quickly just go through this demo payment. So that's it. The payment is successful. We support any payment method that is supported by the payment gateway concerned. Currently, we have live integrations with Razorpay and BillDesk. So if you are on any of those portals, you can set this up really easily. Payment collection is done here, and we are ready to move to the next step. Now here, we'll be performing a face capture. We prepare the signer for what's coming ahead in terms of giving them some instructions. Let's quickly hit proceed. The system will prompt me to move my face within this oval. This is a key part of a liveliness check that happens. Ensures that you can't this ensures that you can't just hold up a photo in front of the camera and bypass it or spoof the signer. So here, face match was successful. Now, one question we got was, what if the photo is very old, the reference photo is very old, or your ID is very old? This works very seamlessly. If you noticed, the document that I uploaded was my PAN card that is more than a decade old. I look very different in that photo, and for example, I don't even sport any eyewear there. I don't sport a beard there. So there's a lot of change in the facial structure from the reference image and the image that is being captured. But the system is smart enough to recognize that and account for that, right? So I'm not being blocked here. It's matching my identity correctly, and I can proceed ahead. Now, once we've done this, we are ready to go for the actual Aadhaar eSign process where we will be performing Aadhaar authentication. So let's give consent and move to that step. So here again, this is the Aadhaar eSign flow with an ESP called Protean. But the key thing that I want to flag here is that even this screen is now customizable as per your brand guidelines. So if you see the banner here, this banner can be customized as per your brand colors. The button here of send OTP can be customized as per your requirements. You can also enter your logo here in the space in the middle. So your logo will come here. We believe this gives you greater control on the look and feel of the signing journey and further enhances your trust in the minds of the customer. So this is another new feature that you can use. But let's quickly perform Aadhaar authentication. Lots of you would be super familiar with this. I have to enter my Aadhaar number and I will get an OTP to my Aadhaar linked file and email. So I'm just waiting for the OTP to come through. Whilst we wait for the OTP to come, wanted to talk about a couple of differentiators that we have with respect to this flow. If for any reason the flow is down, we have automatic redirections to other. These are those entities which carry out this authentication. So Protean is one, but we support multiple ESPs, and we have automated backups that take you to other ESPs depending on the overall success rates and drop off rates that we keep monitoring on a real time basis, right? So this process is highly optimized for conversions with legality. If there is any issue that is ongoing on the network side, we have a lot of checks and balances in place to ensure that customers don't end up dropping off. So I've got the OTP and I've entered the OTP. We are ready to go ahead. While we wait to get redirected back to legality, what we saw here was the OTP based Aadhaar eSign process, but there are other authentication modes that we have as well. For example, we support biometric, face, and iris-based authentication on Aadhaar eSign as well. So if there are those of you who do branch-based flows or MFI flows, if your customer base is more comfortable with a biometric signing, then that is also supported via legality. Right. Signing is now complete via the Aadhaar eSign as well. Let's quickly refresh our uh, control panel. And there we go. We have collected all signatures here. What you would notice is that not only did the first two signatures get completed, we actually saw that a third one also got completed, right? This was the automated signature that our system applies. So as soon as the borrowers have completed their part of the journey, you can apply your side of the signature as well, and then send the final audit trail to the customer and the signed document to the customer, right? So this allows you to perform the entire paperwork journey in a highly automated way. And the customer, I'm just going to quickly show you this final WhatsApp message that the customer also gets, which has the audit trail and the signed document, right? So this creates that final end-to-end trail that is very valuable for your auditing processes to demonstrate that you've complied with the regulations. And just so that we tie up the loop here, let's quickly see the audit trail as well. Quickly downloading this. So here we can see that we have a signed audit trail that is shared with all the parties. This audit trail has a step-by-step record of everything that happened in the journey. And most notably here, the thing I want to flag is that it records the consent that the customer had provided in the language that the customer had provided consent. So this will really help you in your whenever there is an audit happening that yes, you did provide the KFS to the customer. The customer did open the KFS and read it. They did sign the KFS using this particular method, and this is the consent that they provided, and the credentials on which they were notified about the signed document and the audit trail, right? If you perform a face authentication, the details of the face capture are also covered here. If you perform an Aadhaar authentication, then the Aadhaar eSign certificate that is generated is also captured in the audit trail here and displayed here. And the best thing about all of this is that this is a document that is digitally signed by Leegality, which means that this is tamper proof, right? This is not just an Excel report that can be fudged and manipulated. This is a digitally signed document which acts as a single source of truth for you to demonstrate compliance, right? So that's all in terms of the key features that we wanted to highlight in the demo. You will be able to see the document and audit trail on the dashboard at each step. If you are interested in an API integration, the signed document and audit trail is also passed back to you via API and webhook calls. So the entire flow can be run from within your LOS or LMS as well, if that is the kind of flow that you want to set up. I hope that gave you an idea of how to comply with the KFS guidelines using our portal. There are multiple kinds of eSigns that are available. You can mix and match. One important thing actually is that you can mix and match the journey here. So we saw a quick sign and then we saw an Aadhaar eSign with face match, but you can do it the other way around as well, right? You can add things on the quick sign layer where you may not want an OTP, but you want to carry other additional authentications, or you may want to have an Aadhaar eSign where you don't want that face match layer, right? There is full customizability in this journey for you. You can pick and choose the features that you like that are suitable for your requirements and stitch up an entirely custom flow which is built on all the modern stacks that are available to you, which is a WhatsApp notification, a face match with liveliness check, as well as a highly customized signing journey that reflects your brand guidelines. So yeah, I think that's it, Aditya.
Siddhant,
From
just stay on screen because we received one question on API integration. So the simple answer is, question was, does Leegality support API integration? Simple answer is yes. If you can just show from the workflow how easy it is to actually download the payload to integrate,
sure.
we can actually show how the API integration would actually work. So Siddhant showed you a KFS workflow here, right? Which he's made on the dashboard. He's created it completely on the dashboard and he's run it through the dashboard. Sid, you can explain the payload part.
Yeah, if you want to run an API integration, the first step is the same. You create a workflow on Leegality. And after you create the workflow, what you can do here is download the API payload. So you can download this and let's quickly check this out as well. So this JSON will contain all the fields that you want to pass to your developers to really do the integration very quickly, right? There is no need to write a lot of code. These are all the variable data fields in this format that we expect. And this depends on your workflow a little bit. But all your developer needs to do is pass this data in this format. So we make it really easy by just allowing you to download the JSON directly and use this in your API integration process. So this is the JSON that can help you get started with the API process. If there are any of you here who use Salesforce for your lending process, then we also have a plugin for Salesforce where you won't even need to do an API integration. We have a ready to go plugin where you can just start an integrated flow out of the box entirely. So that's also something that's available.
Thanks, Sid. And just wanted to highlight, if you want to make any changes to your flow, you don't need to go into the payload Siddhant showed you. You simply make the changes on the dashboard. The payload accounts for it because it runs on the workflow ID. So any changes on the dashboard will automatically reflect in your API integration without any additional coding effort.
Yeah.
Right. Great.